Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, frankly unnatural shift we've seen in the March 2026 Employment-Based Visa Bulletin. We aren't just looking at this through a lens of generic surface-level updates. Instead, we're treating this as an anonymous expert report, using a strictly analytical, objective lens to uncover the underlying mechanics, the cause and effect relationships, and the hidden risks of this totally unprecedented anomaly. So here's the million-dollar question we have to answer. What exactly triggered this sudden jump to current status across the first and second preference visa categories? Literally overnight, the data showed wait times completely erased for nearly all global regions. Now, to the untrained eye, this looks like a monumental victory, right? An open door. But analytical models tell a completely different story. This sudden movement isn't a long-term victory, and it certainly isn't a sign of increased processing efficiency. It's actually a symptom of a profound systemic shock. And to understand why, we have to look at the strict mathematical rules governing the whole system. Well, it all boils down to this hard mathematical parameter, 140,000. That is the strict annual legal limit of employment-based visas that the adjudicating agency is allowed to issue globally. It's a rigid, quota-based system tied to a fiscal year running from October to the end of September. If visas aren't issued by the end of that fiscal year, they simply expire. They're lost forever. So the adjudicating agency is constantly trying to balance real-world demand against this absolutely hard ceiling. Okay, let's dive into this expert report. We'll be covering 1. The visa allocation anomaly. 2. Mechanics of the travel suspensions. 3. The agency backlog threat. 4. The double-edged application window. 5. Analyzing unapproved petition risks. And finally, 6. Inevitable visa retrogression correction. All right, starting right off with Section 1, the visa allocation anomaly. Here is the critical takeaway. This anomaly is an illusion of an open door. The adjudicating agency didn't just magically figure out how to process paperwork faster. Actually, this is a temporary, forced administrative maneuver. The agency is scrambling to prevent thousands of unused visas from expiring at the end of the fiscal year. They are mechanically throwing open the domestic gates to flood the system with applications purely because the international gates have suddenly slammed shut. Moving to Section 2, mechanics of the travel suspensions. And this brilliantly illustrates the sudden vacuum we're seeing. Because of recent executive policy shifts and travel suspensions hitting over 75 countries, consular processing abroad just stopped. Overnight, a massive segment of the global applicant pool, the folks who normally consume a huge chunk of that 140,000 quota, was completely frozen out. This immediately created a giant void of unused visas that started piling up in real time. Let's trace the mechanical flow of this rigid use it or lose it dynamic. The sequence is remarkably clear. In the first quarters, suspensions get enacted, pausing consular processing abroad. As the months tick by, all those unused visas rapidly accumulate. And because the agency mathematically cannot roll these unused visas over to the next year, their hand is forced. They have to trigger a current status domestically to absorb the shock and consume the remaining inventory before that September 30th deadline. Which leads us to Section 3, the agency backlog threat. The data we're looking at here is absolutely staggering. Official reports show there are currently 35,000 unadjudicated first preference foundational petitions sitting there, plus a massive 80,000 plus unadjudicated second preference petitions pending. Remember, the total annual limit is just 140,000, so the agency is already sitting on an immense backlog of unapproved foundational work. By dropping the status to current and inviting a massive new wave of upgrade requests, the agency is literally about to be crushed by physical administrative volume. Anyone filing right now is walking directly into a severe bottleneck. Now here's a deeply non-obvious detail that's absolutely crucial.
You might think, hey, I'll just pay for expedited premium processing to skip the line. But analytical models show that paying premium fees during a massive systemic flood actually decreases your certainty. Why? Because when adjudicators are completely overwhelmed by a sudden spike in expedited requests, they frequently issue defensive administrative delays, usually official requests for additional evidence. They do this simply to pause the regulatory clock. The system basically bottlenecks itself. Let's look at Section 4, the double-edged application window. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down two totally distinct risk profiles created by the sudden rush to file. If you step through this open window with a foundational petition that is already approved, your financial risk is pretty low and your status security is high. You're relatively protected. But if you try to capitalize on this window concurrently, meaning your foundational petition is still pending or unadjudicated, your risk profile skyrockets. You're looking at high financial loss and severe vulnerability. It is a true double-edged sword. Let's dig deeper into that in Section 5, Analyzing Unapproved Petition Risks. So, the crucial point is this. If you take that gamble and your unadjudicated foundational petition ends up getting denied by an overwhelmed agency, the collapse is total. Boom. You instantly lose those high application fees, which run upwards of $1,440 per person. But even worse, any temporary travel documents or work authorizations tied to that specific application instantly terminate. You experience an immediate decay of temporary benefits, which could mean a complete loss of your underlying legal status. It's a highly precarious legal gamble. Bringing us to Section 6, Inevitable Visa Retrogression Correction. Our analytical models map out this exact sequence of what has to happen next. Step 1, the window opens. Step 2, the agency absorbs the massive demand shock we're witnessing right now. Step 3, to keep from breaking that 140,000 legal limit, the agency has to shift back to a much stricter allocation metric, moving away from early filing dates back to rigid final action dates. We've actually already seen this shift indicated in subsequent updates. And finally, Step 4, severe visa retrogression. The dates are going to snap backward violently, posing a huge risk that the doors will slam shut as early as April, just to instantly halt the flood of filings. And we don't even have to speculate on this, it's literally embedded right in the official data. This anonymized quote was pulled directly from official agency bulletin notes. It explicitly warns that as demand materializes, retrogression will be necessary later in the fiscal year to keep issuances within annual limits. The system mathematically acknowledges its own impending shutdown. This window was never, ever meant to be permanent. It's just a temporary pressure release valve. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to chew on. This whole anomaly was triggered by international travel suspensions, creating a domestic flood the agency is mathematically forced to absorb. But as this window abruptly closes and the dates inevitably retrogress, will the adjudicating agency simply collapse under the sheer weight of an 80,000 plus application backlog before your status is ever secured? For anyone navigating this massive system matrix, the data strongly suggests that waiting for certainty might just be the safest bet, or, ironically, the exact reason you missed the window altogether. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing the data, and we'll see you next time.